Awesome. Well, a very warm welcome to everyone on the first Women Empowerment event for 2024. It's going to be an amazing event of inspiration, and buckle up. So, I'm Carol Edmondson. I'm a volunteer host for Kushulia UK. Kushulia UK is a not-for-profit community interest company, and it's spearheaded by Ritu Sharma, who is the founder and CEO, who's with us here. Give us a wave, Ritu. And also, Ritu is a women empowerment ambassador and has dedicated her life to bringing women of the world to find their own power and true worth. Growing organically, the aim of the organization is to empower women, connect communities, raise awareness of issues that affect women, with the unique objective of Kushulia UK to support those who not only are in dire need, but also to support women who are on a journey to create a life of fulfillment through their personal, professional, and financial growth. So the projects that Kushulia UK focus on include education, personal and professional development, health and well-being, domestic awareness and support, domestic abuse and support for victims, and there is a social media presence. In fact, we have a YouTube channel where all the recordings are uploaded to, and a link tree, and a WhatsApp group, and a Facebook group. So we will be starting very shortly. There will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end once all three of our speakers have spoken today. And speakers, give us a wave. So we have Lark Ambris, Deborah Blackman, Inga Faison Cavett. Inga Faye Cavett. And as I say, once all the speakers have spoken, then the floor is opened up for Q&A. So don't be shy. You can either come on camera, unmute your mics, or put up your virtual hand, or write your message in the chat. Okay, so before we get started, if I can ask you all to put your mics on mute, and I will introduce you to our first speaker. And please bear with me if my voice goes out. So our first speaker for the evening is Lark Ambris. Now based in St. Lucia, Lark's transition to living in the Caribbean islands full-time has been a journey of personal evolution. Honing her skills as an entrepreneur and a full-time coach, her particular area of focus is working with 43-plus-year-olds, helping them to navigate the challenges of re-establishing their identity and reinventing themselves as major life events happen. She now hosts immersive coaching experiences, one-on-one and small groups up to 8 people, condensing years of healing work into an impactful 5 days. And where is that, Lark? Somewhere exotic, maybe?
St. Lucia?
St. Lucia, indeed. Wonderful. So with that said, Lark, I hand the floor over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Carol, and to the Kushulia UK organization for organizing another monthly Women Empowering event. And welcome to all my guests who showed up for me and to learn and to just be present, and to my fellow speakers today. Hello, good afternoon, good evening. I'll jump right in. During our time together, what I'd like to share with you are some skills that I acquired, mastered, and now teach that I wish I had about 25 years ago. So if you had asked me what the name of my mental operating software was about 25 years ago, it would have been called Doing Life Scared. When I was about 13, 14 years old, I remember visiting New York City with my family. I can see me now walking through the streets of New York, white dress on with some silver studs over here, this big banded waist, and on my little tiny waist, this white banded belt on this little tiny waist of mine, just walking down 34th Street, looking up at Macy's, just being absolutely blown away, falling in love with each step. I think it was around 6th Avenue and 34th when I decided I was going to live in New York. I was going to move to New York. I was going to go to college, and I was going to leave my then circumstances. I was so serious about this, I made a pact with God. I said, if I can't get there by age 21, I will commit suicide. I'm here to tell the tale, though. So you know how that worked out? I left my small town for the big city. No friends, no family, no funds. There began the journey of doing life scared in New York, but it worked out. I graduated with honors. I got recruited by a big 6 accounting firm. I went on to work for big pharma. And during that period of my life, I was overworking, but I couldn't fail. I did not feel like I could fail. I had to be the absolute best at everything I did. If it wasn't worth being the best at, it wasn't worth doing. In my corporate environment, I felt undervalued oftentimes. I felt unseen oftentimes. I was exhausted. I was always feeling on edge, but I did not dare allow those feelings to get acknowledged. I buried them. I was hyper-rationalizing my way through why it was important to focus on action, 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 getting things done, and ignoring the feelings. As I like to say, feelings, schmeelings, don't let them get in the way. That was my modem back then. Smiling on the outside, low-grade, never-ending panic on the inside. Inevitably, the glamour of Wall Street wore off. I loved the anonymity of being in New York. I hated the impersonality of it. I loved being well-networked and knowing the right people. I hated the loneliness of New York. I loved the bags and the shoes and the suits. I hated the pressure, though, of always having to be presentable. There, ladies and gentlemen, is Lark on the road to burnout. But I made it out. I made it out. Living life scared. I made it out. That journey was a long one and ultimately ended up with me being back in familiar region, but a foreign country. I made my way back to the Caribbean. I started a consulting agency. I started my own manufacturing business because you see, I believed in me. So I cashed out my 401k and I kind of had a business plan. So I was proud of myself because then I could call myself an entrepreneur. So fast forward to the day when I was curled up on the floor of my factory, fetal position, bawling my eyes out. I was done. Just wanted everything to end. I hadn't slept in days. I was then divorced. I was feeling broke and broken. It was in those moments, though, that I realized something major had to change. I didn't know what, and I didn't know how. And in that space, I started a journey with my quarterly support system with my gurus. You may have heard of them, Oprah and Deepak. They gave me enough insight and energy to limp along until the next 21-day challenge. I lived for those injections of hope and motivation. It was around this time that a friend introduced me to a coach, and I got even more insights, but still no mental muscle, no mental fitness. So what is mental fitness anyway? Mental fitness is how we grow 3 core muscles to thrive in challenging circumstances. Definition, official definition of mental fitness. It's your capacity to respond to life's challenges with positive rather than negative mindset. What is the impact? The impact is we get ahead of burnout before it impacts our performance. In my case, if I had had more mental fitness back then, I might have remained a lot more productive when I got scammed and my business was sabotaged. I would have been able to cultivate and nurture healthier relationships in those my darkest times. Now, mental fitness is the synthesis of 4 different branches of science: neuroscience, cognitive behavioral therapy, positive psychology, and performance science. The research that I speak from is based on hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, Stanford students, world-class athletes, over 750 participants from over 70 countries. You can find a lot of that work embodied in Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine. The results of that research indicate that there are only 3 core muscles at the root of mental fitness: the saboteur interceptor, the sage, the self-command. I will take us a little bit, I'll introduce us to what that actually means. The first saboteur that I'd like to talk about is the judge. Now, the judge we are all familiar with. We have a judge, we all have a judge, and the judge shows up all the time. The judge functions in primarily 3 ways. The first one, judging of the self. I'm not good enough to lead this team. I'm not smart enough to complete my PhD. I'm a horrible wife. My husband needs me and I'm not there for him. I'm a horrible mother. I work so hard, I'm never there for my kids. Then we have the judging of others. That may look like these people don't take their jobs seriously. They're always late. They're always talking on the phone. They're not committed. And then the third voice of the judge can sound like judging the circumstances. You know, if I just had a capital injection right now, my business would be okay and I would feel so happy. Or if I got that promotion, that would be it. My mission would be accomplished. I could be happy and relaxed then. So that's the judge at work. But the judge does not work alone. The judge has 9 accomplices. Now, I introduced you to 3 of mine: the hyperachiever, the victim, the hyperrational. Sound familiar? Did you catch them? Maybe you're familiar with some other saboteurs: the victim, the avoider, the people pleaser, maybe, the controller. That's a pretty busy one. Now, it's easy to determine what your leading saboteurs are. There's a short assessment. It takes less than 5 minutes, but it's deeply insightful. Anybody wants that, let me know. The controllers in the room, and some of my clients who work on their controller saboteur, are confused. They are concerned. Are negative emotions good for you? I mean, if I didn't feel this drive and passion, if I didn't lean in on my people, they won't do anything. They won't be as productive. Those are the words that a controller saboteur may be whispering in your ear. So visualize, if you will, the surface of an electric stove. Nice, shiny, black surface. And red hot concentric circles. Black surface, red concentric circles. Really hot. If you were to rest your hand on that red hot burner, you would immediately remove your hand. Those red concentric circles are your saboteurs. So yes, they offer us a signal, but that's it. It's a signal. Staying in negative emotion hurts our ability to see clearly, to respond with empathy, to be curious or creative. It actually stops us from getting to the point of clear focused so we can take positive action. So those are our saboteurs. Now we'll talk about the sage. And the sage muscle works from the sage perspective. The sage is that part of our brain that governs positive emotions, peace and calm, clear-headed focus, creativity, and big picture. So to illustrate the sage perspective, I'm going to give you a story. Stay with me here. There was a villager in a farmer. He had an amazing mare, entered the mare into a competition. The mare won. The villagers come to the farmer. Oh my gosh, congratulations. You must be so thrilled that your mare won the competition. To which the farmer responds, who's to say what is good and what is bad? Few days later, the mare disappears. The villagers come running to the farmer. Oh my goodness, what happened? Was he stolen? He ran away? You must be so distraught. To which the farmer responds, who's to say what is good and what is bad? Few more days go by. The mare returns with 2 other mares, to which the villagers come to celebrate with the farmer. Oh my goodness, look at that. You are now ahead of the game. You had 1 before, now you have 3. To which the farmer once again responds, who's to say what is good and what is bad? The farmer's son is really super excited. He's got 3 mares now to work with and to break in. Definitely going to win every competition from here on. Sadly, though, he breaks his leg when breaking one of the wilder of the mares, breaking them in. The villagers now really sure that they're going to get the farmer to commiserate with them because his son just broke his leg. To their surprise and frustration, the farmer says, who's to say what is good and what is bad? At this point, the villagers, hands in the air, give up. They're just letting that go. They're not going to engage with the farmer anymore. They're not understanding where is he coming from. Weeks go by. The recruiters from the army show up, knock on the farmer's door, only to find the farmer's son with a broken leg. The farmer's son cannot be conscripted to go to the war. The villagers at this point do not come rushing to celebrate because by now they can understand the sage perspective. What is good and what is bad? The sage perspective fundamentally says that every as in bold, red, highlighted, underlined, every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and an opportunity. Which perspective is true? Saboteur, this is bad, or the sage, this is a gift? The answer is, whichever you believe becomes true. So we spoke about the saboteur and the saboteur interceptor, the sage and the sage perspective. Now I want to invite you all to do what's called PQ reps with me. So if you'll indulge me for maybe the next 3 minutes, I need you to just take a deep breath in and exhale. On the next inhalation, pay attention to the temperature of air as it enters your nostrils. And exhale, paying attention to the temperature of air as it leaves your nostrils. Take a 3rd breath in, slowly, paying attention to the temperature of air as it enters through your nostrils. And exhale, noticing the temperature as the air leaves your nostrils. Now shift your focus, undivided focus. Be fascinated with the soles of your feet. Just become acutely aware of every sensation in the bottom of your feet. Don't analyze. If thoughts come and go, just let them. Just pay attention to every sensation in the bottom of your feet. Find as many of your toes as you can. Wiggle them if you need to do that to become more aware of them. Just focus on every sensation at the bottom of your feet right now. Take another deep breath in with me. And on the exhale, open your eyes when it feels comfortable to do so. You see, the operating system of mental fitness is incredibly simple, yet quite profound. I'm hoping that you noticed the mind chatter die down a little bit. Maybe your heart rate is perceptibly a little slower. If you feel negative emotions, stop. You're in saboteur mode. Do some PQ reps to quieten those saboteurs and to activate that sage. Now you are ready to assume the sage perspective that every problem can be converted into a gift and an opportunity. Generate the gift by using the sage powers of empathy, curiosity, creativity. Get to that place of clear-headed laser focus. Fair question usually follows. Is it really possible to shift from saboteur to sage response, even in tough challenges? I threw this question in here because it's one that I get. And the answer is yes, 100% yes. But the speed and depth of the shift depends on your mental muscle strength. See, we've all engaged in those 21-day challenges. We've embarked on new diets. At the beginning of the year, we write those resolutions down. We gain great insight. We have such motivation and hope. But that's only with 20% insight. What we don't have is that 80% muscle to carry us through to that transformative experience that we're seeking. What I wanted to share with you today is a way to evaluate and assess and understand why we can get supercharged up at the start of the year, for example, with all of those very well-intentioned resolutions, but we can't follow through for the rest of the year. Insight is amazing and it's wonderful. But if what you really want is that deep, transformative experience, you have to work on your mental fitness. You have to develop those mental muscles. There are 3 core muscles: the saboteur interceptor, the sage, and the self-command, which is what we just practiced. Bringing your mind into focus for a minimum of 10 seconds where you are focusing exclusively on one physical sensation. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I want to leave with you. Mental fitness is to ensure the wisdom, the insight, the self-discovery continues to serve you way beyond that initial aha moment. Now, there is wisdom in this room, and I'd love to hear when Carol opens up again for questions. What are you learning? What did you hear today that you can apply going forward? Who has what experiences that they'd like to share? And how long did it take you? So thank you so much for your time and your attention. Carol, I yield the mic.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Lark. And I am sure there will be lots of conversation when the floor is opened up for Q&A, but that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, so I'm so glad you said yes, Lark. Now, I am going to introduce you to our second speaker this evening, who is Deborah Blackman, a CEO's compelling journey from the trauma of an abusive childhood to the top of the banking and international business sector. I'm just going to read a snippet from your bio, Deborah. At age 40, Deborah Blackman embarked on a journey that would ultimately change her life. Growing up in an unsuspecting, affluent household in Kent, Deborah endured many painful years of sexual abuse from her father in silence. Her mother ignored her suffering, focusing instead on maintaining their lifestyle and climbing the social ladder. Isolated and ignored, Deborah found it even more challenging to face her painful experiences. However, finally at 18, the abuse from her father became too much, and she confronted him, which led to him throwing Deborah out of her home with only £5 to her name. She had nowhere to go. And it's at this point you take over, Deborah. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you, Carol. And this is a journey of hope, and it is one of success, because it doesn't matter how much we've suffered as children, it doesn't have to define the rest of our lives. And bringing that journey forward, I spent 2.5 years homeless. I was sofa surfing, is the term they use here in the UK, staying with friends. I couldn't go to the university that I wanted to. They gave me a place to read history of art at Warwick University, but I was too busy surviving. And I'd been in survival mode for the large part of my life. And what Lark said really resonated with me, living in fear, living scared, because I had come to exhibit a lot of coping mechanisms. I developed a multitude of different personas to cope with varying triggers and challenges that I faced in my life. And oddly enough, I too became a high achiever. The drive knowing that there's no safety net, that I was on my own, that nobody was going to come in and help me or support me. And in fact, I was fearful for those people that wanted to, because I found that I used to replicate in relationships the abuse that I suffered as a child, because I had an imprint that I kept on using as a pattern in my life. And I had to unlearn that over time. So I was in the City of London, and I became a very successful international private banker. I was headhunted because I'd single-handedly, in 1 year, in one transaction, brought in £125 million as assets under management from one very, very wealthy sheikh in the United Arab Emirates. And I was headhunted into another role with about 3 times as much money. And so off I went. And I still went into this incredibly toxic, dog-eat-dog, very high pressure, people didn't count environment. And weirdly enough, as I think there were a lot of people that I was working with at the time, I think in various ways we'd all suffered some form of trauma or abusive situation as a child. And we all kind of muddled through together with no real moral compass, with no real purpose, just to survive, get money, exist, and have this treadmill of an existence. I then got headhunted again because of my success, and I went with Hitachi. And in 6 months, they must have known that they'd got plans for redundancy when they got me. So they just used me for my contacts in that dog-eat-dog environment, and I was made redundant. Probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me out of the environment that I would have kept on repeating as a pattern if I hadn't have been shown the door. I worked with the directors of that organization and became self-employed. To cut a long story short, I had a lifestyle business. It wasn't a scalable, replicatable, duplicatable business. It was one that relied on me, which was fair enough because I was the tough woman. I was the woman that could achieve anything I wanted. I didn't have any emotions or those that I would show to anybody. If you'd asked me on the outside, how was I doing? I'd say fine. And inside, I was a wreck, a complete self-loathing, hated myself wreck. And I grew a business, and it was all to do with supporting other management consultants who traveled the world. And I also grew a business in Ukraine. I was actually going to set up an office in Ukraine, and it was going really, really, really well until COVID. And in a week, I lost my entire business because nobody could travel. Nobody could go and see clients. We were all, as we all know, isolated in our homes. So there we are. I was stripped bare again. And you know what? The universe only knows perfect timing. It kept on slamming me over the head with the same lessons and saying, learn them. Otherwise, if you don't, the next one is going to be so challenging that it's going to force you to learn the lessons. So off I go. 2 years thinking, what am I going to do? My original set of clients in the UK decided that most of them were going to retire, sell their London properties, downsize, live in Spain or wherever they went, and they were going to retire. The people in Ukraine were all set to go, and I was delighted. Hence the reason why I thought I'd set up an office there. 2 weeks later, Putin invaded Ukraine, and they were at war. Under martial law, I couldn't get the money out that they owed me for a long time. So that was the straw that literally broke the back of my trying to be something that I wasn't. It forced me into a situation, as uncomfortable it was. I had nowhere else to turn. There was a catalyst. I was asked out to a business meeting in the evening, which I'd never normally do, by a gentleman who'd said that it was the only time he could make. And let me tell you, I had no boundaries. I was a people pleaser, just like Lark was saying. I would do anything to try and people please because I didn't know who I was and I wouldn't set boundaries. So off I went with all my reticence and thinking, this doesn't sound right, but you know what? I still went. And guess what? The inevitable happened. He made a pass at me. I felt extremely vulnerable. And I rushed out of the restaurant. I ran home because it wasn't too far away, and I sobbed on my bed all night, and I woke up sobbing. And I thought, that's it. There's no point in carrying on anymore. I was going to do something really stupid to myself. But something clicked. I went online and I typed in counselors near me, and it came up with a Psychology Today magazine. Clicked on the link. It was alphabetical. The first lady's name that appeared was Amy because it began with A. I rang the number. Fortunately, she picked up because ultimately I know that she had so many people that she was dealing with every day that the likelihood of her picking up a random phone call was pretty much next to nothing. But as I say, the universe knows only perfect timing, and she picked up. She was that worried about me that she had me on the phone for the next 2 hours. Wanted to speak with my doctor, which I wasn't keen about, but I embarked on a series of counseling sessions, which, Amy, if you ever know that I'm sending out love, you saved my life. You literally saved my life. So the interesting thing is she asked me, what do you want out of these counseling sessions? And I said to her amongst tears, I still well up thinking about it. I said, I want to know who I am. I want to be the authentic version of me because I don't know who I am. And I want to love myself. But if I don't know who I am, I can't love me. And so the next few sessions we embedded and we were talking about things, and it all seemed very kind of like, I'm thinking halfway through, is this doing any good? Is this really worthwhile? What am I getting out of this? And then all of a sudden, I had an epiphany. It was about 6 weeks in, which is not unusual. And all these were done on the phone. I didn't see, I've never seen Amy in the flesh or even online. I was just on the phone. And this is going to sound odd, but to people who know this, my trauma manifested itself as me giving birth to a monster. I felt the pain. I'd gone through the menopause, so I knew it wasn't a period pain, but I just felt this abdominal pain like you wouldn't believe. It went into my back and it consumed my whole body. And I thought, my gosh, I've got appendicitis. I'm going to have to ring the hospital. Literally, that's how lucid I felt. And the body, this is the thing, I'll come back to the body. The monster, the energy, all of this horrible, malicious, ghastly energy that I'd been carrying around with this massive weight, this black weight, came out of my stomach. And to this day, I can see this black monster with red eyes looking right in my face, about 2 inches away. And I won't say the words that I use because one begins with F and one begins with O. So I think we might know what they were. But I literally shouted at the top of my voice to go away in those terms, to go away and leave me forever. And I kept on doing it until I couldn't speak anymore. It left my body. I was in the bedroom at the time. It went through the door and it was about to go back through the threshold again into the room. And I literally screamed. I'm surprised the police weren't called because I live in a terraced house. And I'm sure people must have heard. I mean, this in my head, this was happening for real. And it left and it just went poof and it was gone. And in that second, that split second, the authentic version of me was born. And it was the most incredible experience that I've ever had or will ever have. Because for me, it was like seeing myself being born again. And I rang the counsellor. Again, she picked up the phone, which was unusual because it wasn't my session. And I told her what had happened. And she was a little surprised of the enormity of this event because she thought, well, some people have visions of washing their hands or waving goodbye on the train and what have you. But because of the trauma that I'd gone through, it was an enormous thing. And so we kept on the counseling sessions that was going to stabilize me because I was a blank sheet of paper. I was a blank canvas, literally. I knew I could now define my future. I could define me. I could be in my core and my authenticity. The strength was incredible that I felt. The energy that then was in me because I'd been dragging this huge, heavy, black weight with me for as long as I could remember. And now it had gone and I just felt as light as a feather, and I still actually do. So wind this on. With that mindset, as you know, my business had collapsed, war in Ukraine. I came up with your Mary Poppins of the office. And I wanted to give back. Now, here's the thing. Not everybody knows their purpose. But if you can find it and you know what it is, oh my goodness, does it make so much difference. And as you're on the hunt for what your purpose is, a piece of advice to me from me would be just think about those things that you resonate with, that you enjoy doing, that you get a lot of feeling of passion and love for. And I'd always like to give. This whole people pleasing element, it was toxic, but I still like to give. So not in a flash, but over about a week since the monster was born, I came to the conclusion that what I wanted to do was build a business that would leave a legacy along with every other asset that I own so that I could leave it in perpetuity to charity. I have no other family. I don't have children. One of the reasons why, and I know it sounds sad, but it actually isn't for me, is I didn't want the abuse cycle to continue. I just wanted the bloodline to finish. And I've done that because I haven't had children, and my brother passed away without having kids as well. So I know that that's finished with me and I've done my duty there. And I'm sure I would have been a great mum, but that was the path that I chose and I don't regret it at all. So that's absolutely fine. But this whole thing of how I could leave this legacy, not for my own ego, not for about me having a plaque somewhere, but genuinely to think how I could help other people who are less fortunate than myself, has been and will continue to be my absolutely burning soul passion. And one thing I would say, and absolutely, Lark, I absolutely agree with this, stopping the negative feelings. One thing I wanted to share with you, which I practiced a lot when I was going through this transformation, was there's a technique in breathing. I know you've used one, Lark, but there's another technique which, as soon as you feel the trigger, and it's for everything is in the, actually in the body, because our body stores the trauma. It keeps it, and it remembers certain things and triggers, and then it will react. So if you're thinking, when I go out, I get the butterflies in my tummy. When I don't like something, I might feel my heart pounding. Don't worry, it's completely normal. You're not going mad. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just as worthy as the next person. It's just a trigger, and it's a complete physiological thing. So it's all natural. But one of the things you can do is breath work, where you take 3 sharp intakes of breath. Now, by doing that, you block the sensation of what you're thinking about, because when you're doing the intakes, you can't think about the negative. So if you go and hold it for 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then imagine a balloon that's really stretched full, or a tire that's about to burst. And then you exhale for 8 seconds, and you do it through your teeth, and you've got that mental image of that balloon or that tire shrinking. So if you do it a couple of times, your body becomes centered, you start to relax, and in most instances, when those triggers happen, you can feel at ease and at one. But one thing of advice that I can give to you, because I'm no expert, not like Lark, she's taken all sorts of exams and stuff, but I'm just speaking from a personal perspective here. Don't ignore those negative feelings if you can. The thing is flight or fight, and you want to run away from it, or you pretend it's not happening. If you lean into it and think of it like your inner child, I won't go too deep, but often people feel that they've got a smaller little them inside them that comes out every now and again in moments of stress and anxiety. If you can hear that little young you, that little person inside that's vulnerable, and if you can put your hand wherever that trigger is in your body, put it over it, and while that breath is happening, and after that breath you say, I love you. We are safe in this moment. I love you. You'll find that you kind of get like this warm feeling inside, and you've acknowledged that little you that's vulnerable, that's upset, that's trying to tell you, I don't know what's going on. So if you can kind of embrace that inner child and nurture it and love it and hold its hand or hug it in some way, it will really center you, and you'll feel so much more together, in that sense that your little duo now is all set to go on its purpose, and which is fantastic. And those 2 techniques, because I'm not very good at thinking about complex stuff in those situations, so those kind of 2 techniques have really, really, really helped me overcome the anxiety that swells within me, the anger. I used to lose my temper the whole time, shout at people, snap at people, be angry with people, because anxiety is a form of separation. It's where you block love. And if you can bring love back into your heart and let it out, that is an amazing thing to give to the world. So from this journey, I'm building an amazing business, your Mary Poppins of the office. I'm doing it in a way from my authentic self. We're helping busy business owners, again, to combat their stress, but not in terms of coaching and counseling. We offer practical solutions. So they are helping business owners to buy back their time so that they can decompress, plan the business, take some outward looks at their business from working on it rather than in it. And then not just time, but we help them grow. So there's the money element of it. And we do that with non-automated LinkedIn lead generation. Because I thought if we could do something practical to help busy business owners to de-stress, to decompress, to spend more time with their loved ones and families in a practical way, it can also build a business. It can influence all the ecosystems. It can act as a community for our clients. We work on a non-hierarchy basis in my team. We are just as important as each other. I'm the founder, but my team are absolutely amazing. We just have titles for direction. And we become part of a family, part of a community, part of something that's always giving back, always trying to help people to thrive, with a heart that is so removed from those days of when I was chasing the dollar, so to speak, and everything was like sell my own grandmother for a fiver kind of thing. It is completely different. It's joyous, it's rewarding, it's energizing. And so, again, today, I'm just so thankful for Carol to have invited me on here, because I'm not a professional speaker, but all I've got is what I can give from my heart and help maybe somebody that might resonate with what I've said, something that might help somebody say there's hope after the trauma that they faced. Because let me tell you, it's a wonderful world if we can embrace the love and understand that we are good enough. We are good people. We are great people, and we deserve happiness. And we're going to have it, and we can make that from within. So thank you very much. That's me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Deborah. And the other thing I would say, you are a great connector. When we had our one-to-one, you were thinking of people who you could connect with me
Oh,
for the
always.
speaking events. And you, yeah.
Always. If anybody feels that, and this is no sales, like, oh, I hate yucky sales pitches. It's not about that. If anybody thinks, oh, Deborah might know somebody that could help me in my career or maybe the business connection, please do be in touch. I don't want anything out of it, just the fact that I might be able to help somebody. So yeah, thank you, Carol.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. And by the way, if anyone on here tonight haven't seen or read our speaker's bio on LinkedIn or Facebook, then please go back on my LinkedIn or Facebook profile and read about our speakers tonight. What they've shared has been beautiful, but there's more background on their profiles. So please do. Thank you. And now it's the turn of Inga Faison-Cavett. Inga Faison-Cavett, aka Inga Faye, is an authenticity strategist. She left her engineering career to follow her entrepreneurial spirit and now pursues her dream life full of faith, family, freedom, flexibility, and fitness. I won't enjoy that, hey? She enjoys empowering women to live their best life and helps women become top earners by using authentic lead generation and sales strategies that treat people like humans and not numbers. So I am excited and looking forward to hearing you, Inga. And her details are in the chat as well as our other speakers. So if you've just joined in, I would suggest that the speakers put their details in the chat again for those who've joined us lately. All right, Inga, the floor, my dear, is yours.
Well, hello, everyone. I am super excited to be here with you all tonight. I am going to share my screen. Let's see. Okay, let's start from the beginning and go here. Okay, oh, no, wait a second. Okay, now we're ready. All right, so yes, I wanted to share my screen. I'm going to, okay, so just so you guys know, tonight I am going to talk to you about authentic lead generation do's and don'ts. I am really excited about sharing this information with you. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I talk is to have an interactive type of conversation. So what I'm going to do is I'll ask you questions. And as I ask you questions, I'm hoping that you guys will answer me in the chat. So we can keep this as more of an interactive type of interaction. So quickly, a little bit about me. My name is Inga Faye. As Carol said, I am a wife and boy mom. I am what I call a social introvert. I'm the founder of my company called Inga Faye Unplugged and the creator of my coaching program called the Authentic Sales Accelerator. I love to dance and work out. Those are definitely my pastimes. And I really specialize in authenticity. I want to empower women to walk out their passion. And I believe that entrepreneurship is a team sport centered around relationships. So today we are going to get into the do's and don'ts of lead generation. And I'm going to quickly go over these 3 topics today and talk about what the buy-in cycle is for those of you that may not know what that term means, how I would recommend doing lead outreach, and then how to communicate with your leads while they're in what I call the marination process. So I'm just curious, how many of you guys are entrepreneurs that are in the group today? If you can raise your hand or say, yes, I am in the chat, that would help me out tremendously. So the reason I wanted to go over this today, looks like it's 2 people, so that's awesome. I wanted to just basically talk about how to generate leads authentically. Generating authentic leads would basically be treating people like humans and not numbers. Because oftentimes when you get so caught up in the lead gen, you can just think, oh, well, it's a numbers game. And I'm sure many of you have heard that in the past. So I really wanted to focus on really treating people like humans. And the reason why I want to do that is because first and foremost, I know I want to feel real and authentic when I'm interacting with potential clients. I want to build authentic connections and relationships because I'm playing more of the long game that maybe they're not necessarily my client today, or maybe I'll meet somebody that we can have a collaboration with and connect with on a basis that we can help each other in the near future. So it's more of a relationship than just a sales transaction. I'm also looking to have conversations with people that are interested in what I have by doing some kind of filtering mechanisms, asking those questions to really find out if I'm their person, and if I'm not, that I can refer them to someone else. And then to be able to share or really find my people, the people that I truly, genuinely want to find in my happy space, because I realize that everybody is not my customer. So what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you how to translate your lead generation and interactions into more sales via relationships, so that you truly can treat people like humans and not numbers, and have meaningful and sustainable relationships built on trust, that you enjoy your journey as you go through the ebbs and flows of entrepreneurship, and that you're a top earner not because you bothered people, but because you really connected with them. So the first thing I want to kind of just kill the noise on is a confession. And my first confession is that I'm really not into vanity numbers. I really want to serve people with my product or service and not be caught up in, how many followers I have or how big my email list is. I want to sell to people outside of my friends and family. Oftentimes when we're first starting out, we're very consumed about the people that are in our inner circle, and we think that's all we can sell to. So I want to just knock that off the rails, not even say that you can sell outside of your friends and family. And then 2, I also want to kill the noise that you have to be an outgoing extrovert to be successful in business, because I am an introvert. And I know many of you probably say, well, she's speaking in front of people. But I've learned that introverts, when they're really passionate about something, that their introversion goes away, and they'll really be able to stand up and really speak for what they're passionate about. So I'm a testament of that, and I'll show you exactly how to do that as we go further in the presentation. So I wanted to talk to you and just kind of giving you like a dream thing here, just to kind of give you something to think about. So what if you could attract new clients on a for your business on a daily basis, being authentically you, and then you have clients that are really happy to refer you to their inner circle because they know, like, and trust you because you're being authentically you. And then what if you're able to find commonalities in the people that you interact with and be able to grow relationships based on those commonalities that really allow you to expand your business? Well, the key to that would be the relationship accelerator method that I have. And it's basically a 3-step process, which are these 3 steps. But today we're going to primarily focus on how to build those authentic relationships. That is our focus today. So let's talk about the lead generation in relationship and how it relates to building those authentic relationships. And I wanted to really break this down to kind of talk about the buying cycle and how this typically goes. So the way the lead cycle starts is you have people coming into your world, and they will either buy from you or they're not going to buy from you. And you know, and my vantage point, and I'm sure many of you feel this way, whatever they decide is great. So then you have what's called a sales funnel, well, really a lead funnel, where the lead ultimately decides what they are looking for. They identify their struggle, they determine what their solution is, they evaluate the solutions that are presented to them, and then they decide on which solution that they want. And while this is going on, the person that, I guess, the potential seller is going to communicate with those leads while the lead is what I call marinating on the solutions that are being given to them. And then they're able to decide on what they're going to do. But as the person, well, really the entrepreneur, AKA the seller, this person will need to have a continuous flow of leads coming in, because this consistency is going to allow them to build their funnel, because everybody is going to be in this funnel at a different time frame based on where they are, what they want, and really their personality and their style on figuring out how they're going to do the next step, and even if they decide to do the next step. So what it comes down to is what's called a lead cycle, and it's from cradle. Cradle is them basically coming into your world to them deciding if they're going to buy or not. And that process that I basically showed with you on the previous slide, they're starting from the awareness, and they either fall out from the purchase or they fall out maybe from one of these other steps. But again, the client is ultimately in control. So where can you get these leads from? You can get leads from networking events. You can get leads from social media, of course. You can get leads from referrals. You can get leads, of course, from collaborations. And definitely all of these ones that I have listed here are what are called organic kind of traffic. But then if you want, you can also have what's called paid traffic, and then you'll have some kind of ad that you paid for, whether it be on Google or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you've decided, but you're actually paying for traffic. So once you have those inputs coming into that top funnel, the next thing that you're going to have is how you are, I'll say, basically filtering the leads as they come through. And basically what is really key in doing that is understanding how to really truly love on these people as they come in, and knowing their motivation and really their mindset when they come into your world. Some of the people that come in your world, they're really not interested in what you have. They're just coming in for support. They just want to support you. Secondly, you'll have people that are coming in that are really ready to buy. They're ready to get whatever you have. They've been marinated on enough. You have given them a viable solution that they just want to take full advantage of, and they want to ultimately take advantage of it and go do it. And then next, you'll have the people that are still kind of marinating on this information, and they're just kind of sitting in the pool. But just look at these results here. The whole thing I wanted to show is that these people, this is not 100% thing. Nothing about this is everybody. As you can see, everybody has where they're going to fall out into this pool. And it's really important to know that as a business owner, and not expect that everybody that comes into your world is going to convert into a client, because they're not. There is a process. And again, that consistency thing is going to help you continuously fill this funnel, because the more consistent you have, more consistent you are filling the top of the funnel, the more of the people that are going to come out at the bottom. So I wanted to briefly talk about some lead outreach and some ways that you can grow your business. And these methods that I'm mentioning here can be used even if you're working a corporate job, because at this time, we all know it's all about your network, and you want to make sure that you have a network of people that you can refer to, interact with, support. It's definitely a people's business, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. So the couple of things I did want to talk about when I talk about the do's and don'ts of the outreach is, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you're providing value to your network, making sure that it's not a sales thing, similar to what Deborah was talking about. She wanted to share her story so you guys could get to know her as a person who happens to be a business owner. So it's very important to do that. You want to make sure that you're challenging your network to think about different things. And I think that was really resonated with all of us when Lark was talking about her story and about how the brain works. And then lastly, we definitely want to build that know, like, and trust factor, because at the end of the day, people do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. Would you guys agree with me? You can go ahead and put that in the comments. So make sure that when you're interacting with the folks that you have, you want to make sure that you're attracting people to you more so than attacking, because if they're attacking, they're going to push you away, as some of you see in this picture here. If you're attracting, they're actually going to naturally come to you just because they know, like, and trust you. So when we talk about referrals is what I consider a passive lead generation method, because you are waiting for someone to come to you. You're not actively going out and getting the person. The person is more of a passive way for the person to come to you, because you're waiting for somebody to give it to you. So when doing research in this, I actually did surveys with other business owners, primarily coaches and consultants, just to kind of see where they were thinking and what they thought about referrals. And basically what I had found when I did that research is they felt like referrals were drying up. And they felt like referrals was more of a long game, because you got to build that know, like, and trust factor with the folks, get a better connection with them, build that relationship before people start referring. So with that said, I really think that referrals should not be your only source of leads. I think you need to, what I call, diversify your lead agenda, and be able to have more than just one source of leads. And I think referrals do work well with the grassroots type of activity. And we'll get into what type of activity that is later in the presentation. So when it comes to actually preparing or really getting leads for your business, I would highly recommend that you don't strictly rely on referrals as your only lead generation, that you have some kind of lead generation method where you can generate income in a short term, because of the long game and the longevity of the developing that referral source, just because it requires time and patience and getting to know the people that you're interacting with. Okay. All right, so let's just see what y'all are saying. Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on to the next source of lead outreach, which would be networking events. And with the networking events, the great thing about it, they can be virtual as well as in person. And I would consider this to be more of an active method of lead generation, because you're actually in control of it. You're the one that's initiating the activity. And then, so this is what I would call a grassroots method, because you can decide when you're going to the events. You can even decide how many events that you're going to participate in. And then on top of that, you can also decide how many people you're going to meet when you go to the event. You can have that in mind before you leave the house. So I wanted to, for those of you that may not have heard of this organization, it's called the Happy Co-op, Happy Neighborhood Project. They have a slew of different networking events throughout the week in various different countries. The majority of them are in the United States, but they have meetings in the UK, they have meetings in Australia, India, and Canada. So if you're looking for a way to get your message out and meet new people that may want what you have, I would highly recommend you connecting. And this is a way that you can find out more about it by going to this website here. So let's talk about the action steps for this particular one. So I would highly recommend that you participate in networking events that you can connect virtually and as well as in person. But when you do those networking events, similar to what we're kind of doing today, I would highly recommend that you also set up a one-on-one meeting with the folks that you've met to really get to know the people, because you really don't meet or resonate with people just in a meeting that maybe you talk to them for maybe 2 minutes, or they presented their information to you in a 2-minute setting. When it comes to those interactions that you have when you're at a networking event, I think you really get to know the person when you have these meetings, and not just have ones periodically, so you can truly nurture and develop that relationship to get to know the person and see how you guys could potentially collaborate later, or maybe even be a referral source to one another. So the next lead outreach I would recommend, that I'm sure many of you do, is social media. And for those that don't know me, LinkedIn is definitely my happy place. I know I have connected with Carol. Carol and I have conversed over, I guess, since the last time I had talked back in July. We have developed a relationship over LinkedIn, and that's where I had met her. I know that's also where I met Rutu as well, inside of a networking group that's actually on LinkedIn. But for those of you that are not using LinkedIn just yet, or may not think this is a happy place for you, I just wanted to kind of give you some LinkedIn demographics so you could get a sense of LinkedIn and why I just absolutely love it. First and foremost, since I am in the United States, from a United States point of view, and I'm sure this is probably the case in the UK as well, 50% of the US users earn over $75,000 a year. So basically, if you're looking for people with disposable income, they're on LinkedIn for sure. When you're thinking about the age group, you have a certain demographic of the people, the age range that you actually talk to. If the average age of the folks on LinkedIn are anywhere from 30 to 55. So that would kind of give you a sense of if that's what your demographic you're looking at. I think Lark said she was looking at somebody 43 and up. Lark, this would definitely be a place to be for you. And then LinkedIn allows you to have over 30,000 connections, which is basically friends. In Facebook terms, you can only have 5,000 on Facebook. So if you're looking to have a massive network of people that you can collaborate with, be referral partners to, lead generations and find clients, definitely LinkedIn is where it is the place to be. So how can you do that on LinkedIn? Well, I know I met Rutu in a LinkedIn group. I think it actually was Need a Speaker, Be a Speaker group, where you can meet people that have the same kind of interests as you on the platform and be able to interact with them and connect with them, similar to what I had mentioned before. Another way that you can interact with people is just sending out friend requests to get to know them. Maybe you met some people here inside the group tonight. You wanted to connect with them and get to know them even better. Why not send them a connection request and then set up a one-on-one where you can truly get and build that relationship with them over time. And you can also do polls that will actually allow people to, the people that are in your niche to raise their hand. So you'll know that they're in your niche and you'll be able to interact with them in that way as well. And then for those of you that do have businesses, I know it was about 4 people that said they were entrepreneurs. Have you built a business page? This is another way to increase your visibility and to have a second means to interact with people, and people get to know about you and your business through a business page. So when it comes down to social media platforms, and I just pick LinkedIn because that is my happy place. There's many others that you can choose from, but join the groups where you can actually, based on interests on LinkedIn, connect with people inside your niche through the connection requests, and then have a business page or create a business page to actually increase your visibility. Okay. So is everybody here on LinkedIn? I just wanted to kind of check in with you guys because I know I've been talking a minute. No business page. Yes, everybody, you do have a LinkedIn page. Yeah. So just think about it. If you are thinking of ways that you can actually increase your following and your visibility, do the things that I had recommended here. Okay, so let me go back. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is collaborations, which is absolutely one of my favorite. And the great thing, how can you collaborate with people? You can do it through podcasts. You can do it through summits. I consider like this is like a mini summit where you'll have multiple speakers, where you're as a shared audience where everybody can share their expertise, and then you'll be able to increase your visibility that way. And then YouTube interviews where you can, be interviewed on somebody's YouTube channel and they upload it to their YouTube channel, and then you can share it and use the SEO to actually help drive traffic to your website. You can do that as well. But it just allows you to share audiences so it's not just you by yourself. Because like I said in the beginning, entrepreneurship is a team sport. So when you if there are ways that you can interact and connect with people that have a similar niche as you, but you provide a different service, you definitely want to take advantage of that. This was just a quick example of I met one of Sabrina's clients in a group, and her client recommended that we talk. And as a result of us talking, we collaborated and end up doing a podcast together. Just from one of those groups that I had in LinkedIn. This was another person that I met. Teresha is a relationship coach that actually lives in the UK that I met inside of that speakers group. We connected and was able to swap out podcasts. She was on my YouTube channel. I was on her podcast. So it was a great way for us to share our audiences and then still be able to provide that different service. So both of us could grow together as one with the same audience, well, sharing our audience. So I would recommend that you find ways that you can collaborate with others that have similar niche, different product or service, and have passive lead generation that way. Or because it's really important that you diversify that lead generation so you'll have passive as well as active methods to grow your base. So how do you communicate with your folks after you after you meet them at a meeting or a summit, or they get on your email list? How do you do that? You want to build these relationships and you want to have authentic connections so you can continue to grow and get to know them. One thing is to post. If you're on social media, I recommend that you post specifically on LinkedIn 3 times a week, perfectly in the morning, where you can really engage throughout the day with the folks that are engaging with you. There are basically 3 types of posts that you can post. You can do a poll where your niche will raise their hand and say, hey, I'm your person. A second way would be through a video where they're really getting to know you through your voice, your story, you're providing value, you're interacting with them. They just may like your style when it comes to you. So they're getting to know you as a person through video or written word. You could have some kind of long post where you're stating you're taking a stance on how you feel, or you're telling your story, or you're sharing an impactful moment in your life and why it changed everything as a result of that. You can do these kind of things in your post where it really will attract people to you based on you just being you and not just trying to sell something. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to educate them. You want to be able to entertain them so you can attract more people to you that want what you have. Another way to continue to build that relationship over time is through a newsletter or an email. LinkedIn has this great feature with the newsletter where you can send it out to the people that subscribe to it. And LinkedIn actually does the marketing for you. They send the newsletter out to the folks via email. They market your newsletter on the on LinkedIn feed for people that would possibly be interested in what you have to share with them. And then you'll have a massive group of people that you can serve and provide value for while they're in that a lead funnel, getting to know you. And then when if you provide a solution that they are interested in, they could then hire you to do whatever you want, whatever they're trying to do or whatever outcome they're trying to achieve through your product or your service. So it's just a great way to nurture your connections. You could do what's called an audio room, which is basically a podcast that's not recorded. So you can just kind of give basic topics on LinkedIn that would allow you to expand your visibility and your voice out to people that you don't know in your immediate network that may have never heard you speak. Or you can actually market an event, similar to an event like we're doing today. You could actually market that on LinkedIn to get the word out to your network, to let them know and get to know, have an opportunity to get to know and like you more. So when it comes to this communication, the whole thing is just continuously building the relationship. And last but definitely not least, I wanted to talk about the direct message. And I know many of you probably have gotten those spammy messages where people are trying to get you to get them to be an appointment setter, or that you want them to hire you as a coach, because they're going to help you make 100K in 90 days. I'm sure you've all got those kind of messages. Well, this right here, I wanted to just reiterate the importance that you want to build a connection through the DM. These DMs are not really, they're not salesy DMs. They're getting to know you, how I can help you kind of thing. So one of the things that I have really done to connect and really help people with their problems, or to see if I can provide value in a way to help them grow their business or whatever they're trying to achieve, is a survey. And the reason that I do surveys is because I realize that I'm not for everybody. So the survey helps me really be able to
Please stop it,
filter.
Leah.
Just keep moving it.
Are we okay? Yeah, so the survey really allows me to be able to filter and find out what people want and see if I can provide a solution or have somebody that I know in my network that can help them with their solution as well. So breaking this down, you want to make sure when it comes to LinkedIn and really the things that I mentioned as far as the collaboration, post in the morning, schedule and add this to your daily mode of operation. You can schedule events, video events, audio events, or events offline that really help you build that know, like, and trust factor with your connections. And then you can nurture your connections, or really your lead base, with your newsletters on your personal page, or you can actually do a newsletter on your business profile, or through your email, which is they're just constantly getting to know you while they're still in that kind of marinating stage to kind of figure out if you're the person to help them solve their problem to get their desired outcome. So just to reiterate, I just wanted to refocus on the lead pool and the breakdown, just knowing that everybody's not ready to buy immediately, that only 5% are ready to buy when you first meet them, possibly. The majority of the people are in the need to know information stage, and they really want to marinate, and they don't want you pushing them to buy something that they're not really ready to buy. And then to know that everybody's not going to be interested in what you have, regardless how great it is. And that's okay. That is strictly okay. So when it comes to building authentic relationships this way, you'll see you'll generate higher conversion and referrals. You'll get more of a residual income. You'll have higher sales conversions. You'll be able to really connect with people and have more fun when it comes to lead generation. It'll be less stressful. And then you'll be able to be seen as an authority and an expert in your zone of genius. So I guess one thing I just wanted to make sure that I said is, you have a choice when it comes to lead generation. Either you're going to wait on referrals, or you're going to take control of your lead gen process. And if you're looking for right solutions, by all means, just email me and just say, Inga, help me. And we can talk, and I can see if I'm the person to help you figure out what you want to do with your lead gen, or if there's somebody in my network that could bless you and help you grow your business as well. So thank you for your time and attention. And that's pretty much what I had to share today.
Absolutely awesome, Inga. Oh my goodness. Yes, Christina has said she didn't realize you could do so much on LinkedIn. And a great example from someone who I'm always seeing on LinkedIn recently is Susan Hollywood. Videos, poll, and others. So yes, thank you. This has been invaluable. Wow. And with that, I am not going to waste any time. I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. Oh my goodness, Lark, Deborah, Inga, thank you so much for your valuable input this evening. Thank you. And the floor is open. Don't be shy, hands up, virtual, or just unmute your mic. It could be speaker to speaker or audience to speaker. Yes, there has been so many nuggets shared this evening, and I want to do less talking.
No, I'll go. I'll save you, Karen. Thank you so much, ladies. It was absolutely amazing. It was a treasure shared, whole loads of wisdom and knowledge and nuggets. Thank you so much, and done so swiftly and selflessly. So I really want to say a big thank you from the core of my heart. It's been amazing. I have something to say to Lark from everything you spoke about, Lark. And I think all the attributes you mentioned, where people, look at pleasing others, doing things where they sabotage themselves, etc., etc. I think all of us go through phases where we do that at some point, at least, even if we finally learn to get out. And I just want to share that I've been through that, and I have come out of that, but dipped back in, then came out back again, then dipped back again. And there's so many layers. I mean, anybody who's done any personal development work will be able to say the same thing, that, once you get to somewhere and you think, oh, that's great, I've done really, really well, this is it, I know now. And then bang, the slightest of the thing kind of comes back so harshly and triggers you so fiercely, and you don't know what's gone wrong. So I have asked this question quite a bit, and I'm going to ask you the same as well, although I kind of more or less know where we stand with it, but it's good to get a perspective. When we talk about healing and knowing ourselves, as Deborah very rightly also stressed upon the importance of finding yourself, discovering yourself, and knowing yourself inside out, is it ever possible to get to a point where we are actually healed and we actually know ourselves, like, all round 100%?
So I love that question. Love, love, love that question. So I do believe that we can get to deep self-awareness and truly understand ourselves, which I think is different from being completely insulated from life buffeting you. So I think it's really getting to the point of understanding what are my number 1, 2, and 3 saboteurs, for example. So with insight, you can now respond appropriately. You can now prepare yourself for certain interactions, in my case, I know that my number 1 saboteur is the hyper-rational. I will analyze the crap out of everything, and I may have a tendency to try to solve an emotional problem with logic. That's horrible in relationship. That's not building love and trust, right? So I forgot what this saying is in the Caribbean, but for knowing is forewarned or something of the sort. I know that's a predisposition of mine. So if I start to feel that little feeling where I know feelings are going to be involved, I now can recognize that that's what I am drifting into, that little comfort zone. I know how to work on that now with some of those PQ reps so that I know shift into the sage. This is okay. It's time to explore. It's time to empathize. Sometimes I need empathy for myself before I can now move forward in a way that serves me and the situation that I'm confronted with. So definitely not a one and done. I continue to work on my own mental fitness daily and throughout the day, because it's not just one and done and you're fixed forever. We are not products and we're not things. We're humans and we're bombarded with new situations and challenges every day from all kinds of different directions. So I think that's how I would choose to answer that. Just saying, oops, you moved. Just saying that, yeah, you can definitely raise your threshold, right, of your mental fitness. So, and I'm sorry, I don't want to be too long-winded. If anybody has questions, please raise your hand and then I can cut this shorter. But I really want to give a lovely and in-depth answer to this. There's a graph that's been plotted over time, again, after looking at hundreds of thousands of people, where when you get started in the morning by raising your sage, if the same situation confronts you at 10 a.m., for example, your ability to respond in a way that serves you in the situation is different than if you're starting the day with having done 0 PQ reps, 0 meditation, whatever your practice is to build yourself up. So we can not get to one and done and fix ourselves forever, but what we can do is prepare ourselves every day to be in a better position to handle life when it comes at us, you know? So I hope that helped and that answered your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got one for Deborah, but I'll wait if anybody else wants to ask.
I know Laura put a comment in the chat resonating with something that Deborah had said.
Can I go then, Carol? Do I have your permission? Thank you. So, Deborah, you spoke about inner child. I think that's something that we can talk a little bit more about, maybe, because I think that the root cause of pain for most humans is the unhealed wounds that we carry from early on. And sometimes it's not even a product of your circumstances or situations of this lifetime. That's my personal belief. Sometimes it's intergenerational trauma we carry. Sometimes it's past life karma we have to repay. And we bring that energy with us, I believe, when we come into this world. But you mentioned very briefly about that inner child. And you said that, you gave us a couple of tools to use where you hold the hand and you say, I love you. I'd like you to throw a little bit more light on that, because I think we need to talk more about the inner child and the healing of the inner child and giving it enough amount of love and attention.
Yeah, thank you, Ritu. So the inner child is often where our emotional development as children has a pivotal, has a moment, a shock. Now, I know that my inner child is at the age of 8. And the reason why is that I became fully aware of my father's abuse. Before that, I didn't comprehend it in the way, because a child doesn't have a point of comparison, can't intellectualize, it is what it is. And so at the age of 8, I realized what was happening to me. And that emotionally stopped my development emotionally at that time. And I heard some research just the other day. I listened to podcasts. Mel Robbins is somebody that I listen to, and a gentleman called Jay Shetty. And I think it was in a Mel Robbins podcast where they were saying that the average emotional intelligence age of people in the Western world is around 7 or 8. And here we are getting stuck. And as you say, beliefs differ, but if you feel like it's an intergenerational kind of energy that comes through, I think maybe many of us have experienced this feeling from within that is not necessarily coming from the you of which you face the world with. It is coming from a slightly different place. And that is sort of the feeling of the inner child coming out. Especially I was quick to anger, flare-ups, etc. And that little girl came because she was fearful, and her way of showing her fear was to show anger and alarm. And it triggered me to do that. And everybody's going to be slightly different. But one of the things which in real life, I've not had children, but I know that children around you, if a child falls over and is crying, you go to the child and you comfort it. If the child is frightened, you might soothe the child and hug it and say, it's okay, we have nothing to be frightened for, I'll take care of you. But what happens with adults is often we ignore the inner child, we suppress it, we pretend it's not there. And these voices get louder and louder because we're not nurturing the inner child within us and keeping it as an integral part of ourselves. So ultimately, it becomes worse and worse and worse. And it doesn't realize because it's not getting any adult love, care, and attention. So what I do is I actively seek the input from my inner child. So when I make decisions, I go within myself and I ask the little Deborah, are you okay with this, sweetheart? Is this all right with you? And she talks to me. And the more I've got in tune with that, I mean, it sounded really awkward and I didn't want to listen because there was so much trauma in that little child. I didn't want to go there. But now I can, and I know that this little girl is always going to be somebody that I need to make sure of is okay when I make decisions. And I do self-talk a lot as well. So I will say to that child, it's okay because we've grown from the last situation. We can tackle this. And you know what? The body cannot determine the difference between anxiety and excitement. Mm-hmm. So when we go to, let's say, for instance, a concert, and we're looking forward to our band playing, and you get that sense of excitement. If we reframe our fear and our anxiety as going to a conference, the body can't tell the difference between the two. So a lot of that trigger from the inner child that's coming up, we then interpret it. And if we can reframe it into a positive, rather like Lark was saying, if we can put things into the positive sense, how we deal with something, that inner child then gets satiated because we listen to it. We give it credence. We tell her we understand and we want to understand and we want to listen to it. And it's like anything, if you nourish, feed, and grow something, it's going to have a healthier relationship than one which you shut down, you don't talk to, or you say, for goodness sake, leave me alone. Because you wouldn't be doing that to a real life child who was in trouble or is in pain or is in anguish. So we just need to nurture that in the same way as we would do if we saw the child externally, if that makes sense.
Profound. Thank you so much. Profound. Thank you. Thank you. Very meaningful. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have a question by Christina. Carol, shall I carry on talking? I suppose this is for Inga in particular, but anybody feel free to answer. What type of networking event do you suggest for a newbie?
Yeah, I've been talking to her via chat, private chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I was asking her if she was comfortable talking to people that she didn't know. I guess I don't like giving generic answers. So I wanted to find a little bit more about her to make a better suggestion. Um, she hasn't responded back, so I'm not sure. But I will just say this. I like virtual networking because it allows you to meet a group of people, and I guess in a less intimidating way. If you go to an in-person type of an event, you have to be bold to actually go up and talk to people and make that interaction. With the virtual networking, I find that it's naturally done because they have what's called breakout rooms where you say you have 30 people initially, and then they may have a breakout group of 3 to 4, or maybe even 5 people in a group where you're actually in an intimate group where you can meet somebody quickly in that kind of setting. So if you're just starting out, and that's what she was telling me when she said she was a newbie, that she was new to networking, I think it would be I think it would be easier fit to do a virtual networking where it's naturally goes from a smaller group to, I mean, a bigger group to a smaller group where you can have that intimate conversation and start meeting people, and then possibly set up something after the networking event to get to know the person better, like I was saying in the presentation, more of a one-on-one, maybe even a 15-minute call, not something that's really long and drawn out, but a 15-minute call, just kind of a meet and greet, just to see if you're a good fit and see how you guys could work together if possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I just say something on the networking side? Like yourself, Inga, I'm a natural introvert. And by introvert, I always look at this as I get energy from within. And extrovert people tend to have energy that they get from externally, to being with people. So if I go to a busy networking group on a face-to-face basis, I'm literally exhausted by the time I leave. And I find it very difficult to then settle back into a work environment. And you're quite right, with an online event, I feel much more energized because I'm my own person behind the screen. And I do around about 5 or 6 online meetings every single day. And at the end of it, I find it absolutely exhilarating and I'm buzzing with energy. And yet I talked to somebody else and they went, that would drain me like you wouldn't believe. So we're all kind of different in that regard. But I think if somebody's new to networking, and I was about 18 months ago, there's a little tip that Mel Robbins says. One is, think of your purpose. Why are you doing this? And as you said, Inga, if somebody's passion is strong enough and their desire to do something is strong enough, you will talk through your passion and you will do the things that you never thought you would do. Even if you're an introvert, if you don't have the confidence, what have you, because all confidence is just the repetition of doing something so that you suddenly begin to feel okay about doing something. So it's little by little. I'm thinking about that reason why, but also if you can use her 5-second rule, this has really helped me. What you do is you count backwards from 5. That then engages the brain. Again, you're thinking about that action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you go do it. That can be incredibly powerful. When I always think of it, I'm not very good with a cold, and going into cold swimming pools or cold water, you put your toe in and you go, oh no, I can't do it, it's too cold. But if you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm in. It's that kind of pushing yourself in there. And then once you're in most instances, it's not quite as bad as what you thought it was going to be. And you might just find yourself actually enjoying it after a while as well. So yeah, that's kind of an advice that I would give with networking, because that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go can be really powerful.
Yeah, if I can jump in, I guess two things. One, let's not underestimate the power of visualization. You know, it's a hugely powerful tool. So if you can visualize yourself walking up to one person, having a conversation, and you practice and practice and practice that in your mind before an interaction, it goes a long way to settling nerves and just being able to open up that closed throat, you know? So that's just one, just the power of visualization. I think we underestimate just how powerful it is oftentimes. But also when we come to LinkedIn, I was new to LinkedIn. I think it's now maybe 2 years now, after being dormant for forever. And then I discovered that these audio rooms existed. So there are so many audio rooms on LinkedIn right now. There's gotta be 1 or 2 or 10 where your interests lay. Just drop into a few of those rooms. You may not even raise your hand or ever speak, but just be present in the room. You get comfortable in that space. You get comfortable seeing the names. You get comfortable hearing other people speak. And one day, you may raise your hand and engage with someone on stage and share an opinion or just thank them for hosting the room or something. Just get the toe wet a little bit. So that's also what I would just throw in there for engagement on a platform like LinkedIn. That's how I got started. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I met you, Lark, through audio rooms. Yes, LinkedIn audio rooms, which are very, very popular. And Linda Gray, I saw on LinkedIn audio room as well. Yeah, there are lots of different subjects on the LinkedIn audio rooms. Lots of different people. It's a great way. And the thing is, with the audio rooms, you're not seen unless you
That's
go up
right.
on the platform to share. So, yeah, they're fun and they are very informative, and there's a selection of them you can choose. So, a lot of my contacts on LinkedIn have latterly been from audio rooms. And I must admit, Inga, I don't use LinkedIn as I should. I post about the events mainly on LinkedIn. Once in a while, I'll do something else, but it's just training myself to set aside time to actually do other things on there, because I do other things as well besides the Kushulia, but that takes my priority. So yeah.
I don't know how many people here, well, I'll just ask the question. How many people here with us today have an email list?
Nope. I think that's your answer.
So no one. Lark and Deborah, you guys don't have an email list?
Yeah, so sorry. I'm trying to get to the chat and I can't get there quick enough. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I was thinking at least you guys were going to tell me that. No, the reason I bring that up is when I brought up the newsletter. I like the newsletter because of what I was telling you about them sharing, like LinkedIn shares it to people. But I know some of you were probably thinking, well, I ain't got time to do no newsletter. But what I was going to say is that you can if you have an email list and you're already sending an email out to your list, you can use that same email and just make it a newsletter and just expand your reach even that much more by doing that. So you're repurposing what you already have in existence. Just some food for thought for those of you that have it, or even a video. If you've done a video, or if you, well, the audio room is not recorded, but if you've done a video, if you're done a podcast, you can transcribe that podcast and make it a newsletter. So it's not something that it's overwhelming you or causing you to spend extra time doing something. You're just going to repurpose something that you're already doing and putting it in a written form. It's just some food for thought.
Do you know what, Inga, that is? I've written that down. That's really good. Repurpose rather than start from scratch.
Yeah. I mean, I do it
because
all the time. Yeah, because the stuff I use in my newsletter is something I've already sent out.
yeah, because we post regularly, and I think that once we look back and think, is there a theme? Is there something that we can do with our posts? I'm sure there's something there that we can compile into a newsletter. So that's been really helpful. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here with my thanks to Inga also, because I have posted videos of late on LinkedIn, and I am not a writer. The thought of putting pen to paper and that's just not what I do, but I do host audio events. So I love that suggestion that you just made, literally transcribe the thing and make it into a newsletter. So that's just brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then with AI, you can tell it to summarize it and make it 3 paragraphs, make it, yeah, you can really just jazz it up, and you don't have to do anything. So yeah, use what you got.
Awesome. So if there are no more questions, going once, going twice. Oh, by the way, connect with each other and save the chat. There's some useful links in the chat, so please save the chat. Yeah. Give you a moment to save the chat. All right. Well, it's been wonderful. Thank you again, Deborah, Inga, Lark, and for our speakers and for those who have been here from the beginning and joined us, or even if you came late, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. And yes, so Natasha, Lisa, Christina, Linda, Shafina, Virginia, Christy, thank you again. And Susan and Laura, thank you again. And Ritu, thank you for creating this platform. So we have one more Women Empowerment event, which will be on the 21st of March. Oh, and Nell's just coming back in, which will be on the 21st of March. But before that, we have the mixed event, Men Are From Mars, not to be confused with Women Are From Venus. No, they're separate things. But we have the next event will be on 7th of March, same time, where we have 2 male and 2 female speakers joining us, sharing their expertise, sharing their story. So we look forward to seeing you again in the not too distant future. Ah, thank you. I can never do this right. That's better. That's better. Oh. Sorry.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Ritu, and everybody, Deborah, sorry. And Inga, thank you. And thank everybody for coming, spending time with us.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you ever so much for sharing your energy. And thank you to everybody who joined us tonight, sharing their energy and time with us today. Please stay connected. Come back again. It's wonderful to have you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having.
Bye for now.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.